Hey gang, this is Chris coming to you from Editing in the Future. Wanted to just thank you all for listening in advance and give you a little content warning for this episode. As this episode is on dark humor, we delve a little more into that kind of humor, and as we'll discuss, it can be offensive to some people. If you feel that darker subjects aren't to be joked about, this might not be the episode for you. With that said, on with the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of How Are You Holding Up, a mental health podcast by the depressed, for the depressed. I'm Chris.
And I'm James Wyatt Scott, defender of evil? Womp womp womp!
Wait, why are you defending evil?
Evil needs defenders too. No one's really out there talking about the true issues. There's two sides to each story. You know what I'm saying?
That is absolutely true. If I've learned anything from watching the movie Legend...
Yeah, that was my favorite devil.
Oh, it's Tim Curry. Yeah,
Man,
of course.
That was such a good devil.
So, this week, as Lindsey is in Wasteland Weekend, it is our 60th episode.
Fuck yes,
so
it is. That's
awesome. We got ourselves James Wyatt Scott here.
I'm number 60?
You were number 60.
I gotta come back in 9 episodes. Yeah, that's a sex thing.
We are going to talk this episode about dark humor. We had mentioned it in our lesser-known mental, depression symptoms episode a few back. And the more that I was kind of looking into it, the more I was realizing that there's a lot of depth to that in and of itself. Just the idea of black humor, dark humor, gallows humor, whatever you want to call it. It has ties to stress. It has ties to depression. It has ties to anxiety. It has ties to a whole bunch of aspects. So,
absolutely.
Let's dive in real quick.
Yeah.
What is dark humor?
Well, first of all,
yes.
I want to begin by asking what kind of autopsy you were watching when I got in.
So I was actually watching the HBO series Autopsy.
Oh, there's an HBO series?
Oh,
look at that.
Dude, it was a documentary series for
Autopsy for the
2 decades.
Speak. Damn, why did I know about this?
I don't know. I could have sworn I've told you about it at least once, but
I'm gonna get into that. But
it
anyway,
is amazing. It's case files. It's like forensic files, but without the oh, we can't show dead bodies on TV.
Right.
Yeah, it's actual, there you go.
Sweet. It's like it's like what you would watch after the first 48.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Okay.
So, starting off,
yeah.
What is dark humor?
Yeah, dark humor. Hey, Rock River, what's the difference between 3 dead or a bunch of dead babies and a Corvette?
Don't have a Corvette in my garage.
Damn right.
So dark humor is typically at the expense of stuff that is, for all intents and purposes, out of our control.
Right.
It is for
horrible. Death,
disease, war, you name it. There is humor that is surrounding it. So
yeah.
There is, however, a distinct difference between dark humor or black humor and what is called blue humor.
Blue humor, right.
Blue humor is more like just rude, kind of, it has to do with sex and poop. And
like that joke I made 4 seconds ago. Yeah. Yeah.
No, actually, I feel like dead baby jokes fall under dark humor.
Yeah,
more
or
than
the 69 joke.
Oh, the 69 joke.
Humor.
That was blue humor. Yeah, good setup.
Yeah.
So, both James and I are both practitioners of dark humor.
Definitely.
It is more or less how we survive.
Absolutely.
I
make a joke about my uncle molesting me once a day.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, of course, not factually accurate.
Right, exactly.
But it is something that, we go into and we have to have these kind of moments of understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
Like where these dark, because I'm assuming when you were 5 years old, I could have gone somewhere there, but I'm not going to. When you were 5 years old, you were, of course, not telling those kind of jokes.
Maybe. I don't know. I was a pretty dark humored kid as well.
Pretty edgy kid?
Yeah, I was an edgelord little kid.
Do you remember though when you first were drawn to that kind of humor?
I started I remember specifically, this is such an odd memory as a kid. I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and it sounds, like I said, it sounds so like, my mom was worried because I kept drawing pictures of football players maiming each other, like their heads were coming off and shit. I love that shit.
Yeah, of course, because like games like Mutant League Football.
Exactly,
and shit like that,
I loved Mutant League Football, and I think, that's like dark humor for kids, I feel like. That's definitely like a beginning foray into dark humor.
I mean, if you think about it, like, kind of like Tom and Jerry, The Simpsons,
totally.
The Simpsons, The Simpsons are the greatest purveyors of dark humor outside of like South Park and whatnot.
Definitely.
You have these characters in situations where all they can do is just go, well, let's make fun of it.
Yeah. I mean, Futurama has the suicide booth.
Yes.
You go in and pay a nickel and it'll commit suicide for you however you want. That's great dark humor.
I actually just saw a meme just earlier today where it was the vision that our parents had for us, and it was the Jetsons. The vision that we want, and it was the suicide booth.
Yeah, man, totally.
So it's kind of I think the most fascinating thing about it is, like I said, with like Tom and Jerry, that's slapstick humor.
Yeah,
like it's beating each other up. It's it's blowing up each other with bombs, and it's whatever that is.
It's dark because what it insinuates.
Yes,
like, this would murder them in a horrible way, but in this case, they're going to come back. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, or dark humor, we can kind of trace back way far back.
Yeah.
As I was kind of studying into this, like,
interesting.
You look into like Greek comedies.
Okay.
Like, we're talking ancient Greek comedies. They're all dark humor.
Right.
They're
very
almost
dark.
Exclusively dark humor.
Yeah.
Like, there is a certain dark humor around plays like Lysistrata, where it's just like, okay, the men want to keep going to war. We're not fucking them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's the whole premise of the play.
We're tired of you guys going to kill yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to kill you differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean...
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think for me, what drew me to dark humor was actually George Carlin.
Okay. He was great dark humor.
Yes. He was the quintessential, like, purveyor of my childhood's kind of dark humor, in that, the idea of getting rid of golf courses to provide homes for the homeless.
Yeah.
And let's get rid of graveyards too.
Right.
Just dig up grandma and let's go ahead and
don't even start on graveyards.
Oh no, trust me, we've had these conversations.
Yeah. But that is interesting, and his was honest, real dark humor about real situations versus like a weird dark humor, like a dead baby joke is a very like abstract, I feel like, dark humor, or serial killer jokes. Like those are more in the realm of not so. They are rooted in reality for sure, but we're not really talking about real situations. And I don't know. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think we find solace in dark humor?
Oh man, that's a very good question. And I don't want to jump the gun, but we were talking about people who use dark humor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it can definitely be a coping mechanism for people with certain jobs. I like police, for sure. Police use dark humor to cope
military.
Military.
Doctors. Definitely. Firefighters. Funeral directors.
Man. Funeral directors are stand-up comedians in their own right. They very much are. They have to come up with an entire set of shit to say that's going to be light enough, and maybe even a joke or two. There's always, I don't know.
You're dealing with constant grief.
Yeah.
From the people that you have to interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like,
any humor that comes out of you is going to be dark humor at that point. I don't think you can come up with anything that's not.
I don't think they'd want you to come up with anything.
No, definitely not. This is a very dark time, and we need, if it's going to be humor, it's going to have to be dark humor. But yeah, like I had a friend growing up who was a police officer. He's a friend of the family, and he said they pulled up to this car accident, and a guy had flown out of his windshield, hit the metal barrier on the side of the road, and his head exploded And he said there are brains everywhere. They're getting there, and there's brains all over the concrete. And they had just been at Waffle House. And he said, well, who brought their hash browns to the scene of the crime? That was like the first thing he said when he got on the scene. That was sort of my introduction. He told me this joke when I was probably like 13 years old. Yeah. And that was my introduction. I was like, that is horrible. How could you say that? This is such a serious, dark thing that someone lost their husband. And he kind of was saying, yeah, that's why I have to make a joke about it. He's like, if I get there and cry at every scene, I'm going to kill myself. He's like, it's an outlet. It's definitely an outlet.
I think that's one of the most important takeaways for this kind of humor is, yeah, of course, it is intrinsically offensive.
Definitely.
Like, you can say from an objective point of view that is, those are all offensive jokes to people.
It's almost the purpose of them.
But that's exactly right. Yeah. It's the matter of, if you are offended by every single little thing, you're going to spend more time being offended than you are taking action.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think there's a quote, to be able to laugh at evil and error means we have surmounted them. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a really telling aspect of how dark humor is utilized.
Yeah.
You can't... to be able to just laugh at something is the first sign that, okay, we're going to make it through. We're going to make it through. Yeah. I can't even get over people who can't make those jokes.
I know. I just don't want to live my life like that, to be honest. I mean, we're only here for a handful of years, and I don't know. I don't want to get so hung up on every little thing, and I don't know. My friend was murdered. I'm sure I mentioned it on the last time I came on here. But I was just saying the other day that he and I had this, like, when we were about 12 years old, had this crush on the same girl. And we were in this situation where we were both, like, trying to be this girl's boyfriend. And our Marine friend at work said, well, if he had just died back then, you could have just had her to yourself. And that is horrible, but I needed that.
You needed that, yeah, exactly.
Really, that was great.
You have these kind of amazing memories that can be flipped on their head. Like, I mean, I remember you telling me you were in New Orleans, like after Katrina.
Yeah.
Like, that is devastating.
Oh, yeah.
To be surrounded by that.
Yeah, it was absolutely devastating. And it was a town that I had grown up in on top of that, and I had seen it in a completely different way. And it's an entire city, It was like, imagine if your house got ransacked times, 100, and that's what it was like. And yeah, it was absolutely some dark humor going around, I mean, there had to be. Yeah.
The fascinating thing about, like, that kind of dark humor, because, I mean, when you experience death firsthand, if you go to, like, a wake or something where there's, people telling stories, the best stories that someone will tell are almost always going to be humorous.
Yeah, definitely. They're talking about whoever it was.
I'm going to put a video also in this on this episode. It is John Cleese speaking at Graham Chapman's funeral, where he started off by, like, quoting the parrot sketch from Monty Python.
Yeah.
And he got to a point where he said,
and I guess that we're all thinking how sad it is that a man of such talent, of such capability for kindness, of such unusual intelligence, should now so suddenly be spirited away at the age of only 48, before he'd achieved many of the things of which he was capable, and before he'd had enough fun. Well, I feel that I should say nonsense. Good riddance to him, the freeloading bastard. I hope he's fried.
And, like,
totally.
And everyone in the crowd is just losing it.
Yeah.
And then Cleese immediately follows it up with, like,
and the reason I feel I should say this is he would never forgive me if I didn't. If I threw away this glorious, opportunity to shock you all on his behalf. Anything for him but mindless good taste. I could hear him whispering in my ear last night as I was writing this. All right, Cleese, he was saying, you're very proud of being the very first person ever to say shit on British television. If this service is really for me, just for starters, I want you to become the first person ever at a British memorial service to say fuck.
No, absolutely. That's me. And that I want my funeral to be a fucking roast. Like,
yes.
I just want, don't talk nice about me. Don't bullshit. Like, roast me. I would love to see it. I might even have my funeral before I die, just so that I can get roasted at my funeral.
That's actually a really interesting idea.
Comedy Central, if you're listening.
Get on that funeral roast.
Yeah, funeral roast. Pre-funeral roast.
Pre-funeral roast.
You would lay in a coffin instead of sit on that big throne, and all your friends would talk about you like you're dead, but in a very honest way.
I've already seen, like, there was the Comedy Central roast just recently of Alec Baldwin, and, oh man, I forget the comic's name, but they just laid into Robert De Niro, basically being like, it's okay. I know you're confused. Oatmeal's coming.
And see, that's another good dark humor. I think roasting each other is definitely a form of dark humor. You know? And it's this great thing. I've got the chance. I was at the Comedy Store one night, like a year ago or so, and I ran across Jeff Ross, and I just asked him. I was like, anything, will you roast me? And he just stood there for like 5 minutes, and he was like, you look like Brad Pitt shit you out or something. He's like, he just roasted me, and it was the greatest thing ever. And it's like being roasted. It's like you said, it's like that. You see people at comedy clubs and stuff who get very offended. Get very deeply, like it does absolutely get under their skin.
How dare you speak to me that way?
Yeah. But that's dark humor.
A lot of Karens out there.
Yeah, a lot of Karens out there. They did not know where they were going that night.
Oh my god, no. The follow-up to this is also memes in at least our generation, for sure.
Yeah.
We have things like... oh god, what was it called? Cheerful Nihilism.
Okay.
There is an entire site of Cheerful Nihilism where they will provide, various memes, things that are completely and totally removed from the idea of like normal humor.
Yeah, I love that. I love a good meme.
Like taking big things and making them small, but taking smaller things and making them bigger.
Right.
There is a sort of hilarious darkness to that.
It's like you're facing your giant. If you can make a joke about it, like you said, yeah. You know, when I was thinking about military, I mean, those are those guys over in war. Sometimes I was just watching this documentary recently, and I can't, of course, it was, I can't remember. I'll send you. I'll text it to you or something. You can get the link. But it was this documentary that followed some Marines in Iraq. Yeah. And sometimes they didn't know the cameras were rolling. Oh, of course. And oh man, yeah, it's very, very dark humor. But you could tell that it was coming from a place of. It was called like Obscura. Something Obscura. It's this documentary. I actually don't recommend it if for the faint of heart, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of death in it as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that kind of comes with hand in hand.
Yeah, but but I can't imagine. That is definitely a giant monster worth facing if you're in a situation like that. Like police officers share the same experience where it's different from other professions where your life literally is in danger at all times. Even when you're a police officer and you go home, there could be someone after you right now. I mean, there could be someone who you put in jail who, your fucking head there's a price tag on your head or some shit.
Any moment your life is in danger. Yeah. It's the same with paramedics and doctors, medical people who have to deal with, they are not only putting themselves at risk, right? When it's, they're dealing with a lot of at least with paramedics, you go to crime scenes, you go to places where there could be active shooters.
Yeah.
Or you're a doctor and you're surrounded by disease.
Yeah, totally. You're exposed to everything all day, every day of your life.
All it takes is one bad needle prick and your life's gone.
And not to mention one of the reasons why I could never be a paramedic is because I cannot do blood.
Yeah.
Don't like blood. But also, imagine being reminded of your mortality so many times a day. Imagine every single time you show up, and that absolutely could be you. And that's why, I've seen a few dead bodies in my day, and that's every time it's affected me like that. Like, you definitely see yourself in a glimpse of that body, and it's a very traumatic experience. That's why people don't like dead bodies. Human beings don't like to see. I don't think anybody likes
creature. Some
Ted Bundy really likes.
Ted Bundy loves
dead bodies.
God damn it!
Ed Gein, have you seen Ed Gein's furniture?
I've seen all of Ed Gein's furniture.
So good, so well crafted. I cannot believe.
Horrifying.
It's very horrifying.
Oh my god!
Holy shit, he was very good.
Yeah,
if he had just gone with leather and wood
instead of human flesh and bone, I would have been
and vaginas and ears.
Yeah, he could have made a mint.
He very well could have. Oi.
There's that alternate reality somewhere out there where Ed Gein was just a very good taxidermist instead of a serial killer and
totally
monster.
Would have been fine if it had just been animals. But where's the fun in that, Rock River? Everyone does that.
There's no thrill in that.
Yeah, I'm cornering the market here. And you just want to send me to prison for it.
Oh God. So there's another aspect of dark humor. It's going to be the last part of it. There has actually been some research done at the Medical University of Vienna, where people who find enjoyment in gallows humor are linked to higher levels of both verbal and nonverbal intelligence.
And see, that's fascinating to me. And I can absolutely see a correlation between those two because, intelligent people are also very much more prone to destroying themselves with booze and drugs and all. They said, intelligent people definitely are the ones who are seeking
relief.
Yeah.
Whatever form it takes. And it actually does come from Freud's theory on humor, which is that humor allows for a temporary and relatively safe release of usually repressed urges in the form of wits.
Yeah, interesting.
So there's, the alternatives, finding it in drugs, alcohol, violence.
Yeah.
There's all spectrum
Absolutely.
of release that you can find, but
being a genius is hard.
It's that thing that I've always noticed where, a lot of intelligent people sometimes have those thoughts of, God, I wish I was dumb.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Definitely. My grandfather always said I'd rather be lucky than smart any day. And he was a very smart man. He was an engineer. Yeah. And I think high intelligence does tie back to that. You definitely, that's what I wish I were dumb means is you're way more aware of all the terrible things in this world.
You have a higher sensitivity, you have a higher awareness, you are able to understand that all the things that are going wrong with the world, and you feel inept, you feel powerless to do anything about it. It can drive you crazy.
Yeah. I would love some dumb courage. That's why we drink.
Yeah, that's exactly why we drink.
Yeah, you got it, because before going into some sort of situation, rather than thinking all of the terrible outcomes that could come from it, or just living your everyday life thinking about what could happen at any moment, you just don't.
Yeah. What if you just didn't?
What if you just didn't?
It's the same thing with, you're sad. Well, what if you just weren't?
Yeah, what if you just weren't?
Yeah, if you could just stop being sad, that'd be cool.
Well, if you're too damn smart. You figure out how shitty this place is.
Take that, all of my listeners, all of our listeners, please take that and run with that. Just stop being sad and everything will be fine.
Everything's gonna be alright. Don't worry.
Yeah, like that's really helped anyone in the past. Guys, it's okay what you're going through, how you're coping with it. If you're coping with it in dark humor, if you're coping with it non-abusively with, various medical substances, possibly.
Sure.
I mean,
I'm high right now.
We're all just trying to get through this, right?
Yeah, and if you see me in your kitchen making a sandwich, don't worry. It'll be all right. Everything's going to be just fine.
If you see him, however, in your window...
Oh, everything's not going to be fine.
No, nothing's going to be fine.
Let me in. I need a sandwich. What else anything else you want to discuss with? I mean,
well, I think one of the most interesting facts about the findings of this study also were that the highest appreciation of dark humor, besides the higher verbal and nonverbal intelligence levels, also had the lowest levels of aggression.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That
you are more unwilling to strike out and fight somebody because you see the futility in existence, really, for putting it in a sort of a weird way.
I could die.
There's it's embracing absurdity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you can embrace the absurd, the absurdity of life is already kind of wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hate thinking about it. Our existence is just an accident, basically.
Yeah, I mean...
And we're a blip.
We have no idea why we're here. We have no idea what we're doing here.
We're circling around on a giant ball.
Space rock.
In space.
Well, a mote of dust.
Yeah.
A pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan would call it. I think the coolest thing, by far, is the fact that we are existing. And that we have to do what we can to get through it.
Amen. Even if that means making jokes about your dead friends.
Or making jokes.
Hey, make jokes about your dead friends.
Make jokes about your dead friends, yeah, guys.
And your dead relatives.
Yeah, that's fine.
They would rather you make jokes
than be constantly downtrodden by their loss.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's an interesting spin to take on it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard some good jokes about my dead friends, and I really appreciate them.
Well, James, thank you so much for being on this week.
Thank you for having me.
You got anything you want to pitch, or like what you're working on? Or?
Oh Lord, not yet. I'm still working on some stuff though.
All right,
it's in the making. Don't worry.
Well, then, in that case, follow us on Instagram at HAYHU Podcast, like our Facebook page, subscribe to the subreddit. If you want to support us directly, visit our Patreon. Or if you want to send us something directly, go ahead and email mailbag@howareyougholdingup.com. Thank you all for listening to this.
You can catch me in the latest newspapers.
You can catch him on the dirt rag.
Turn it to 96 AM radio. You'll hear my beautiful sultry tones all morning.
It sounds like static. It sounds like static, but that's what he sounds like, actually. It's kind of amazing.
It's 71 degrees in Los Angeles, everyone, with the LA Dodgers, who just came to town as a new team from Brooklyn.
Time displacement. Guys, thanks so much for listening. And as always, don't tell us to just get over it,
you bastard.